Ahora, ojalá sí se pueda escuchar, Diana. Me dices, me cuentas, por favor. So, Daniel, we should be good on volume now. We should be good there. I know you've got your feeds going as well. So back again, guys. I'm sitting here with Daniel Ramirez, with a good friend of mine for a good while. We've been doing this. This is our first episode of our podcast, and um, we're looking to share what we do and what we don't do, and how we do it and how we don't do it. So let's just recap. Daniel Ramirez is a good friend of mine. EXP, he's a realtor. I'm a loan officer, and we've been doing this for quite a while, and we want to share our little nuggets that we've come along the way. Daniel was kind of touching on how we met. If Daniel, if you would kind of recap on that.
Oh yeah, meeting at through an ARP event, the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. I think we met in the 2017 installation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it's just great.
Whose year was that?
I think it was
Was it AT?
no, I think it was
Was it Lisa?
yeah.
Okay.
No. I think it was before AT.
Okay.
Because was it? I don't know. AT 2019.
Yeah.
So I think it was the year before that.
Got it.
And but anyway, no, just I love the mission that NARB stands for, especially someone like yourself who's like at the forefront of helping immigrants with the American dream, right? Coming here and getting a home and being able to have land here and have a home to build for your family for your future generations, And I'm a true testament of the American dream, right? Of what's possible coming to this country. But no, I love what you guys embody, what you guys do, and I've happened to me a lot of great, made a lot of great relationships through NAREP, through different associations, different realtors, different lenders, title companies, and it's been a great, amazing organization, and to kind of see where how we first met at that event to now we are now, right? The president of NAREP for Dallas,
Yeah, that's nothing. That's just a stepping stone, right? But we come a long way. Same thing goes for you. When I first met you, I saw a post you put on Facebook about how you'd accomplished. I think you bought your first. I'm not sure it's your first car, but you just bought a Corvette, and you were proud of it, and rightfully so. It's a big accomplishment. A man of your age, big accomplishment. You've got a great team. You've done some good things, and you should be able to challenge on it. And that's what I want to talk about is being Latino, being Hispanic. We're kind of a little bit too humble sometimes, and I think it hurts us. I think it pains us as a culture. I think we're very humilde en ese respeto, ¿verdad? Pero también por ser humilde a veces nos pasa oportunidades. A veces un líder no puede ser un líder correctamente porque está preocupado porque la gente piensa a veces o cómo lo ven y no creo que debe ser así. Yo creo que uno, si tienes éxito, hay que celebrar ese éxito y hay que ser un ejemplo para otros sin tener miedo que alguien te tenga, no sé, sin tener vergüenza, ¿verdad? So you did a great job with, and by the way, we're bilingual, so we're probably go back and forth all day on English and Spanish, which is how I live my life anyway. So, what he did is a great thing. I truly always I admire Daniel from afar. I try to give him advice, little nuggets. I'd wish that people would give me his age. But the fact that you were able to accomplish that personal goal of yours by probably your dream car at that point in time, right?
Yeah.
And you have a very successful team through EXP. And I don't think you're even done yet, bro. I think honestly, given where you are in your life, I think it's a step 2 of 200, and I think you got a long way to go. So congrats, kudos, keep it up. But the reason we're here today is because we want to talk about what you've done and how we're going to keep doing it, right? Because that's what we're all about. So Daniel mentioned the immigrant story. Daniel, tell us a little bit about how you came to this country, man. Tell us, how you got here.
Yeah, no, so we was born in El Salvador, right? And obviously at the time, El Salvador has been through, you know, years of corruption, poverty, of war, right? It's not the worst country to be in, but there's a lot of gang violence that happened after the civil wars erupted in Central America. Obviously, a lot of imperialism, but that's a different topic. That's happened in Central America and South America. But we essentially our family had the idea to come to the United States, and when we were younger, and my parents had us when they were 30, so they were like getting close to, like, I was as far as 5 or 6 when it came to America. My parents were getting close to being 40. Imagine just dropping everything. Not having a lot of family here, because I've always kind of grown up having like a smaller family, right? Never go to big events where I have all my cousins, my primos, and all that. It's like it's been more intimate. Have my family's kind of spread out. From California to Florida to New York to El Salvador. I probably have a couple in Texas.
You
But
came here when you were 5 or 6, right? So did you ever go to school in El Salvador?
yeah, actually, come see, I'm a prep.
Yeah.
I went to like prep school, like which is like what is it,
And
kindergarten?
you still have family over there. You left family over there to come here.
Yeah, yeah. And
And what was the reason that your parents, your mom and your dad, decided to come here?
well, more so my dad. It's probably like he's it's an interesting mix that they have. Because my dad is more of the the wilder, calls himself a bandit, right? Just the one.
There's always that one, right?
Yeah.
The black sheep. I get it.
And then my mom's more like the reserve, calculates every step, it's more conservative, right? So obviously, like as a head of the household, he's gonna, lead the family. It's been a great decision since then, right? Come over to the States, and um, just being able to take opportunities that we have and the way that life grows. And sometimes we kind of look at problems and situations in our life, right? And sometimes we can't see past that, but sometimes we realize that God's put that in our lives for bigger purpose, right?
Yeah, you said two things there, man: God and purpose, and those are huge in my life right now. What's your purpose, and where is God in it? And God should be always, in my opinion, my 45 years on this earth, I've learned that at least right now, God is number one, and I have to have a purpose and a drive to find it, and God fuels every single decision I make. And the purpose behind it too is to share God's word, His testimony, and try to live my life as good as I can. One day I'm going to answer to God, and I hope I did the right things in my life, and I hope I gave it forward, and I hope I paid it forward. I'm at that age where I feel I need to leave an impact on this life and this world, and my son will be part of my legacy. But that's not it. I mean, there's people like yourself that I feel we need to impart on and embark on that journey and keep showing you guys how to do better. You've done a great job so far in your life. Your dad made a great decision. Your mom, I know her well. She's done very well. But there's been a challenge. You mentioned it, being Latino in this country. It's a very, what's the word here? It's a very precarious situation. You come in, you came in illegal, right? I came in, and my parents came in the 70s when they were giving out visas to come as migrant workers. That program has been around 50 years. Does that mean the opportunity that America presents to immigrants goes away? Right? Does that mean that America is done with its need for workers or for more people? It's not, right? So you and I live this every day, but yet some people that are ready to move from a border or from a community that is immigrant, they may not see the need, but you and I see it every day. I'm very aware of it, where I live, where I work. And when I say immigrant, I don't mean just Mexican, Latino. The number one immigrant today in this country is actually from Venezuela. The number two immigrant for this country today is from India. So we think Mexican, we think immigrant, and it's not even Mexican. And we think Mexican, everything south of the border of Texas. And there's a whole continent south of that border, right? So, the America that I know is different than most. It's very well-rounded, very robust, very Latin. What is it? Dallas is now majority Latino.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How much of your business, Daniel Ramirez, and your real estate side is Latino?
Well, it's definitely mixed. I feel like a good, half of it, I'd say, hard to run the numbers, half of it is definitely Latino, right?
It's good.
And even more so that, like, we do help, people speak, just came from, came from Mexico, different parts of the country, different countries. And it's exciting to see them, right? I think there's a statistic out there that being an immigrant actually makes you more likely to become a millionaire, than being born here in America. And it's probably just because of people's values or, their principles, right? They come in and it's like, they understand what is on the other side, right?
The appreciation, the gratefulness, the gratitude, right, of the opportunity. Because you're right. When we came here, I remember my grandpa came here as a migrant farmer. And I remember stories of hearing my aunts and uncles, of course, growing up in houses without floors and dirt hurts, and them all working the fields, both sides of my family, my mom and my dad. And their thing was like probably your mom and dad is go to school, get education, do better. And we did that, but I think your school thought more than mine. Your generations is probably more entrepreneurial, being millionaires. I'm not sure how much of my generation thought they would be millionaires. We thought we'd be successful and go to school. That was our motivation, our drive. Your generation motivation was like, hey, let's go kill it. Let's become millionaires. And I love that because there should be no ceiling for anybody. So keep going with that. What you got going on? You've done a lot so far, and keep it going because that's the immigrant dream here in these states.
No, that's the thing about again, just even myself becoming Americanized and even becoming American myself. I know appreciate you coming out to my my naturalization ceremony. and it's definitely something I've been working on probably for 20 years, right?
Yeah,
And obviously, once I got it, don't get me wrong, I'm always grateful for it. But it's like worked this hard to accomplish this.
you're not done.
But yeah, I'm not done. There's more.
You're
But
not
now
done.
obviously there's a sense of security that I have, right?
Of
And that's
course.
like the foundation, right? That's something. It's generational in essence, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because growing up, obviously, it wasn't able to get financial aid, wasn't able to get certain programs that citizens are able to can't vote, which is again, I'm sure there's the laws are there for a reason, right? Um, but become I guess kind of touching that note, but become Americanized once I started to go back to my country. Just seeing my older brother lives out there, and it's funny how like just it's different worlds that we live in, right? And how like sometimes again we do take things for granted. We do come in and say Americans tend to waste a lot, right? And out there, it's like I notice a lot of when I go to a lot of Hispanic places, like all let's say hand soap, right? It's just a bar of soap, right? My brother doesn't even use shaving cream. He just like conditioner or whatever soap and just like what I'm saying. It's like, but come a little come a little bougie, right? A little spoiled here in America, But which again, this is what we come out here for, right? Um, you can't lose yourself. You can't forget where you come from, but also you got to always continue looking where you're going.
100%.
You know.
100%. We touch on this a lot. My business, I do home loans, 9 to 5. Well, 10 to 6. That's argument. When we wake up, it's work. You go to sleep, it's work. It doesn't stop. But my primary job is as a loan officer. So I help people get houses, and I really focus on a niche because I felt, I remember one time there was a couple in front of me, and I just kept saying, I got tired of saying no because all the banks didn't offer this and that and the other, and it struck a chord when I couldn't help my own people buy houses, and you look around for solutions, and it's just not, and everybody wants to follow the norm, the traditional one. I made a conscious decision at that point in time that I was going to help my people because nobody else was, and it's changed my business. People, you're almost a glutton for punishment because it's tough. You're swimming against stream the whole time. You're fighting regulators. You're fighting your own company. Sometimes you're fighting profitability. You're fighting the client themselves because they're not acting with our system. So it's a journey, but at the end of the day, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. Is helping these consumers, these clients become homeowners because they don't even realize it's possible. They think there's an inkling of an idea, and at the end of the day, they end up buying a home when everybody else said no. And to know we could help them out in that process, to me, is one of the most fulfilling things that happened in my life. So to do that and to do it day and day and over again and be successful at it, and now we get to mentor people to do it. We have a team and businesses that help that. That's a dream. That's my purpose right now. And now the next purpose is to help share and spread that to other people. So yeah, what we do here, Daniel and I, especially a lot of Latino real estate is number one. And the NAREP thing you mentioned earlier. NAREP is the National Association of Hispanic Risk Professionals, and I say it slow because I say it really fast. And I'm the president for the Dallas chapter, and there's over 100 chapters nationwide. It's the largest professional Hispanic organization in America, and our purpose is to create sustainable home ownership and then generational wealth. And we truly believe that in order to be wealthy, you must have a home. It's a fact after the research. A homeowner is 40 times wealthier than a renter. And when a person can't obtain homeownership because of forms not being written in their language, because of a regulation that's based on a general consumer that doesn't think of or consider the way a Latino or immigrant works or thinks or restricted to certain things, it's discouraging because I see my aunts and my uncles, and I think, hell no, somebody's got to fix this. And I guess I've gotten courageous over my years, and I don't care what people think and what they do anymore. I'm going to do the right thing. So that's what we do, and it's rewarding. It's tough, but it's the American way. Daniel, you talked about earlier. You mentioned it was one of your dreams to be here, the American dream. What is your dream now, buddy? What's your dream today?
Well, something that has been growing as I'm growing myself, right? Just turned 29 the other day, and
29. Jeez,
You
I
know,
don't remember.
it's what they say
I had
about
hair back then.
about men, right? That your mindset changes every 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in that shift myself, you know, because obviously what drives me now is different from what drove me 10 years ago. And again, I can say that I've come to a point where I've been able to afford a higher quality life, right? Higher quality
Yeah.
relationships, higher quality things that I value, right? Um, but obviously now, I think my dreams is being able to share that with as many people as possible, but also just be around people I enjoy. You know, make money with people I enjoy, be able to provide opportunities for other people, and just provide solutions, just provide value as much as I can, right? Let that just kind of be the vehicle to my life, you know, and be able to share that. You know, now it's taking it internationally, right? At some point, I do want to go and travel like the world. You know, like I don't want to just limit myself to here Texas, right? But to the whole country and even other parts of the world,
Yeah.
um, and just continue connecting with like-minded people. You know, that's just really I can say that I don't necessarily have a finite dream as to it's not necessarily materialistic, right? Because that and income always follows the more you provide
Sure.
value,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And so I don't necessarily think in that in those manners, but I just want to continue just living a great life and being great to as many people as I can.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of things there. Materialistic. There's nothing wrong with being materialistic. Leaving your imprint, leaving your goal, leaving your legacy is always important. As you grow, God puts things in your
Yeah,
path to help you create that. And there's always your plan. There's God's plan, and it's funny they're never the same, but they end up being probably better than what yours were. I remember as a young man, my mom died when I was 17 years old, and it was devastating. And my mom was I'm an only child, and my mom was everything. She was my sister, my mom. She was everything. So my whole world, right? Everything. And I remember at 17, I was devastated. Like I didn't know what to do, and this and the other. And I think it impacted the way I lived my life. Well, I know it did because I was scared to have kids. Because what if I died on my kids and this and the other? Put all these fears in my mind, right? Here I am, 45 years, 28 years later, and my kid, 7 years old, I was scared he wouldn't have a grandma. That wasn't one of my things. Like he's not gonna have a grandma. How's that gonna be for him? And I look around at him now, and the kid has 7 grandmas, right? And I'm over here thinking I'm a young man. I'm like, oh no, grandma, pobrecito, mi hijo. And God gave him not one, but 7 grandmas. Like I can't even do the math. Like I would have never thought about it, right? So my plan was nothing like what God had put in mind. But the fact that we just have to live life and have faith and pay it forward. And Daniel, you're a young man. We've made mistakes.
yeah.
I've made mistakes. Trust me. I'm not going to air him on this, but I've made my fair share. I'm not an angel. I'm a Christian man now because I know what the other side looks like. But yeah, keep moving forward, man. You're doing a good thing. You're doing the right thing there.
I want to touch on that. It's like because and also you have a lot of great features and tributes that accomplishments that you've done. Listen to your story. If you want to share, just coming out of the hood, right? Kind of make a name for yourself, especially in this
Trying.
industry that, like, I mean, you're well known in this industry, right?
Trying.
You have a lot of pull. I mean, to a point to where you're out here, man, you're creating, right? And I think that's kind of brings us together in that frequency that we like to create, right? There's still a lot more to do. We get to a certain place, and it's like, where else can we go, right?
It changes. It's more for my kid and my kids, and I consider you in that range. When I was growing up, we didn't have a leader that we would go to and say, hey, what do I do next, or what I do now? You'd go to your pastor, but he was probably a blue collar worker. There wasn't really a senator you can go to. There was really nothing there that you could go to. I think growing up, I remember watching on TV here locally, Domingo Garcia was an attorney back then. He was kind of a guy. He still kind of is, right? He's a city council member. And I look back and I always tell myself, somebody should do something. Somebody needs to do something. And I say, somebody needs to do something. And now I'm realized I am that somebody. Like, if it's not going to be done, it's got to be me. And everything, I'll take it on. I'm not scared. If God's willing to, and it's the idea, and if it's planting a seed, it's got to be me. So, Jose, you're right, homie. You're right straight of Oak Cliff. Thanks for watching, homie. I am from Oak Cliff. I'm proud of it. My parents moved there straight out of Dallas. When we came up here, we went to Dallas, Oak Cliff, literally right there. I love driving from Oak Cliff to Dallas. It's the best view you'll ever see of downtown Dallas. It's the Omni Hotel with the tower and Reunion, and you just can't beat that view. I took a lot of there. They were having tacos, and I showed her my own neighborhood. And like, look at this view. It's the hood, but the best view of downtown Dallas you ever mentioned in life. and the best tacos too, by the way. Um, but I grew up as a ghetto nerd. My whole school was Hispanic. I spoke Spanish my whole life. There was like probably 5 black kids in my school, 1 white kid, so it was all Hispanic. Um, and I loved DISD. It did well for me. We was in the and we're in the magnet system there, and we did really well. And my dad got scared of the neighborhood. He was scared for my life because of the gangs and drugs in Oak Cliff. So we ended up moving to Rockwall. But my heart's always been in Oak Cliff, and I feel that's my people. That's my raza. I grew up Jefferson all the time. I show my son that, and I think it's necessary because there is a need for education, for leadership from that community. It's a shame that as Latinos we're finally the majority in this area, in this state, in this country, and yet you look at local city halls, local representation for senators and congressmen, and we're not half of anything. And at that point, it's literally kind of struck the fire in me. Like, I think that maybe my next step is I need to go to city council. I need to go see how it becomes to be a senator because there's not enough of us. And if it's not me, it's going to have to be you, Daniel. Like, you have to take that step because there has to be more. It can't be who's doing it for us. It has to be us doing it for ourselves.
I heard this quote by one of my mentors. It's like the world is in need of great men, and needs great men to step up and be leaders, right? And sometimes just like how you are for me and be that for others is like be that person that you wish you had for yourself, right?
True. And then I think that's where we have a problem as a culture, Latinos. We want to be humble and we want to be humilde and like, oh, but yeah, don't worry about it. It's all cool. But it is and it isn't. Like, it is great. At the same point in time, own it, run with it. You got to be great, man. We have to be leaders. We have to be for ourselves, for our culture. I'm not saying that it's us versus them mentality. It's a fair representation. The way that Latinos and certain segments operate is undervalued. And as an economy, if we're going to be the most efficient version of ourselves, we need to have all systems go for all representations. We can't have this segment that's very productive underrepresented and underutilized because that's not good for anybody efficient. And I'm an economist. Like, I don't really care about policy, race, color. I'm like, hey, what's the best use of you? All right, cool, let's go there. And if it's Latinos are being underused, why? Because of regulation. Let's change the regulation because it's affecting economics and policies and everything else around us. Let's embrace what we are. Let's go with it and let's get it done. So we're all prospering as opposed to neglecting here and overgoing over here.
Have you ever seen the movie Who Cloned Tyrone?
I think you told me about that. I haven't seen it.
So it's interesting how like the movie kind of talks about like just hood dynamics, right? It's like, more so that like it's a cycle, that it's hard to break. It's
is
a generational thing that, the movie just goes on that again. If no matter what decade we're in, right, you still say drugs, pimping, violence, right? It's like, and that's what people tend to cling on to, right? It's that lifestyle. So you have people like yourself who emerge out of that, right? People like who see past.
And you know what?
That.
You kind of get ridiculed for it. You get called white, or you think you're too good, or this and the other. I'm like, bro, I'm just trying to come up. I'm like, why are you mad at me? Like, don't be mad. And then when you do make it, you feel responsible, and you almost give everything back to your demise, where you can't be more successful because you're giving everything back because you're guilty for being the successful one, and that's tough, dude. Yeah. It really is. But you have to own it. And it's a fine line between being honorable, being driven, being merciful, and that's why God has to be my only source. Because if I'm waiting on me to have the capability, I'm not capable. My son's not capable. My wife's not capable. My dad's not capable of giving me direction. Only God can give me the direction and foresight to know the right thing to do. Because there's so many ways to do this thing wrong, and more than not likely, we're going to get it wrong.
No, and it's kind of one of those things, right? You got to live your life by faith and not fear, right?
100%.
And it's like fear is the absence of fear is the absence of faith, right?
So what's the one thing you're most grateful for?
And grateful, honestly, just to wake up every single day and have new opportunities. I think one of the things that we had talked about earlier is like, what would you tell your younger self, or what would you do things differently? And it's like, well, I'm grateful for all my mistakes. I'm grateful for all the lessons that you've come. Because if you were to go back in time, it's like, you've lost those lessons that you've learned, right? You lost that insight or that knowledge that made you who you are today,
100%. There's always this thing about the harder the challenge, the more rewarding it is, right? So, there's rough tides. That's what makes the best sailors. So here we are, starting through life, and I kind of chuckle when people expect things to be easy in life. I chuckle because I'm like, it's not supposed to be easy. and you want to sit back and just chill, and it's never going to be easy. You have to be harder and better every single day, and you're still a young man. Things are gonna get harder for you. It's just gonna make you better. I only wish, like to say this, I wish to be better. I don't wish for things to be simple.
Yeah.
So I think I've taken the challenge on well in my life, and I'm trying to do the best I can with them. And hopefully, I'm a better version of myself today at 45 than I was at 30 and 25, because I've learned a lot. I've been through some experience. I'm a happily married man. I love my wife. I've got a 7-year-old son. I cherish to death. I do everything for my family. Same one time, I give back to my community. I'm very involved and do what I do, and I know if I don't leave a mark, I want my son and wife to be proud of what I do in life, right? I want to be able to say, when I die, I want people to attend my funeral,
Yeah.
to know I had an impact. Because the worst thing I want is to show up and nobody was there.
I want your great grandchildren to have a poster of you on the over living room, and like toasting to you, like, hey, thanks to you,
not
made all
about
this possible.
all that. Maybe
No, but
we'll see.
made all this possible.
But yeah, so real estate. Some about real estate, real quick. Real estate. We're in a tough market. You're how many years in the business?
I'll be 8 in January.
8 years. That's significant. You rode probably most of the way up. 2017, 2015.
2016, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Beginning of
good.
2016.
I've been in business since 1997 in some form or fashion. I started as a receptionist. I used to answer the phone for a construction company, and then I started this. Actually, my aunt got me in the business. Let's see here. And then from there, we started doing some back end work, some back end systems and issues, and got all that resolved. Went through processing, all those other things, and finally got into the sales side of things. And I've been on sales for a long time now, and I've seen the ebbs and flows of this market, the ups and downs, the ins and outs. And when I was in my 20s, I had no idea what the market meant, what this and the other. Right now, we're going through a natural boom and bust cycle, economically speaking. By the way, guys, I have a degree in economics from UT Texas at Dallas. Not that I'm a master economist, but being the fact that I have the privilege of dealing with finance every day, seeing a lot of people's financial situations. I am on the board of a Hispanic Real Estate Professional Association. What we see here on a daily basis is pretty significant. I see a lot of data. I see a lot of real figures that you guys may not see by the scenes. I think what we see reported to us on the news is a little out of date. It's 3 months behind. What I see real street is different than what you guys see on Wall Street, right? Main Street stuff over here. And we're going through a tough time. I'm seeing less in payrolls. I'm seeing people being more conservative. Consumer confidence is down. What does that mean? That means people are more reserved, right? They're going through their savings a little bit faster. Rates are up. It's a cyclical thing, right? I'm a Reaganomics fan. The more money you put into the government, or the more you get to the people, the more they're willing to spend, and it kind of turns. It's called the velocity of money. And if we don't spend, it kind of freezes things up. So if we're saving money, the economy tends to trickle and not spend as much. And with rates being high, we don't want to spend. So we're kind of self-contracting and we're buying things less. I'm seeing and hearing things about long road, we call them over the road drivers or long haul drivers. The orders are down to almost nothing. Hearing things from different industries that they're down to almost nothing. Labors are down. Restaurants are not supplying as much. So you're seeing all these different things that are indicators of a recession. I don't even know what recession anymore. We recession last year sometime. We declassified it something different. So right now, let's just be honest, we're in a shrinking economy. It's shrinking down. We're not spending as much. We're going through our savings. Rates are up. Real estate wise, that affects us negatively and positively. What are you seeing on the real estate side, Daniel?
No, definitely same. People are it's a lot less action that's happening, right? Interest rates are as they're raising, buyers have less buying power, right?
Yeah.
You see how properties sitting in the market a little longer. There's definitely still traction, right? As in the industry, people are still going to be buying and selling regardless of what the market's condition is, right? As a realtor, it's more about just shifting lanes a little bit, right? Or tweaking things here and there. But ultimately, in my opinion, it's like, hey, if someone's ready, right now people who are buying or selling more so are people who need to, right? It's like, why would you sell from a 3% and move into a 7-8%, right?
Correct.
Granted, unless you absolutely have to. Now, my opinion is this, especially for buyers, is that, now you have more negotiating power, right? You have there's programs out there that you can tap into. It's not like I was in 2020 where it's like you couldn't access anything, right?
The market's flipped. So the way that a bank sees it, the bank perspective, not my perspective, everybody. The bank. This is the way the bank sees it. I represent the bank. I'm not the bank. I don't make the guidelines. The bank sees things in risk and reward. If there's a 3% interest rate, there's very little reward for the bank. There's not that much profit for the bank. 3%. So they're not going to take on hard. They're going to take on very little risk. They're going to minimize that risk to almost nothing. You better be super clean, super qualified, super this, super the other in order to get that 3%. You have to qualify for it. You ever heard the term well qualified buyers when you go buy a car? Well, when you get 3%, you better be a very well qualified buyer, and you're going to get that great rate. But if you're not, you're not even going to have an option because you can't go off market to 12%. It doesn't exist. So now that we're 8%, the well qualified buyers, they already bought at 3%. The quasi qualified buyers, the somewhat qualified, they can buy. They want 3%. Well, even when 3% was around, they didn't qualify. Let's just be honest. They're waiting for the 3% to come back. It's not going to come back. The only way 3% comes back is if we are in a world war and another pandemic comes around. Everyone tends to forget when rates were 3% in 2019, 2020, we were walking around with masks on our face and we were scared we were going to die of the next virus. We were hoping and praying we would take a vaccine to fix us. It's a different world. It was then than it is today. And at 3%, we literally felt the world was going to end. So the government dropped rates at 3% in order to stimulate the economy enough to get us out of our fear so that we would go buy and keep the economy moving forward. We're not there anymore, but we're on the contrary. We're 8%. That doesn't mean we shouldn't buy. It just means it's not that kind of market. So if we're waiting for 3% to buy a house right now, I'm going to tell you honestly, and not as a salesperson, just as common sense, it's not going to happen. You may see 5 or 6. I've been in the business 25 years. And if you look at the chart, and I'll pull it up here in a minute, you'll see the lifetime of rates. And I was worried about this day when I was 10 years ago. I'm like, what's going to happen when we hit the bottom? Have to come back up. Well, here we are. Rates were 18, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. I bought my house at 6, refinanced it at 4, refinanced it again at 3. Then we hit 2. And now we can't go any lower. We can't go to 0. It's not possible because what a rate is, an interest rate is 2 things. It's the risk component. How risky are you, or how risky is the investment? And number 2 is what's the inflation for the future? If I lend you $1 today, and let's take $1 and let's call it a gallon of milk. If I give you a gallon of milk today, and you give me a gallon of milk in the future, I expect a gallon of milk. With $1, if I give you $1 today, in 10 years, it's not worth $1 anymore. It's worth half $1 because that gallon of milk is worth more. So that's inflation. So interest rate is inflation. So we're never going to be 0. We can't be 0. If we're 0, we're negative inflation. We're missing out on money.
I saw this post the other day. It was like, I think back in 2000, right, the rates were about the same, right? We were back in 8%, right?
Yeah.
And if you were to have waited for rates to have dropped, I think it wouldn't have been to like 20 something in the 2010s, right? 2012, 2013, 14, 15, right? Mm-hmm. You would have waited 15 years for the rates to drop, right? And what do house values do?
House values quadrupled.
It's like, so do you really want to wait till interest rates drop? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I'm not saying go buy a $500,000 house 8% because that's the other issue we're having, and I've addressed this in another conversation we've had. The issue is we don't have the right kind of inventory, and you see it as a home buyer. My first house in Oak Cliff that we lived in, first off, my first house was a house with like 20 cousins, right? That was my first house. That's a smart way to do it, right? Yeah. That's how we grew up, bro. I mean, everybody got tortillas and frijoles, and we all sat around. That's how you come up, That's how we did it, right? So our first house, my dad's was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And that was our first house. And right now, you go look for a first home, and they're not that. You're finding a 3-2 with an extra bonus room and a 2-car garage and a studio, and that's considered a first house. And it's not a first house. That's a forever home that we're calling a first house. And the reason they're doing that is because builders are maximizing the use of the land for a home, and they're making bigger homes on smaller properties, right? So it's part of the economics of just everything in general. But right now, I hate to say this, we're not building first-time homes. The first home buyer market, I just met a client today, $250 was a purchase price it qualified for. Where are we going to find a house for $250, Daniel, in the Dallas area? If we're lucky.
Yeah.
right?
Or
And
something
that's
meet
going
up.
to give them a $2,000 payment, $2,200, and that's tough for some families. If you're making $25 an hour, that's $4,000 a month, right? 4,000 a month. Now let's say we have a dual income family. $25 an hour is a pretty fair wage in today's market. Let's say the other person is self-employed and has a gig cleaning houses, whatever it may be, and they're making another 2,000. That's $6,000 pre-tax. Take off tax, 30%. That comes up being $4,200. $2,000 is almost half of your extra income. You do that, and then we're talking about a car payment, $500. Another car payment, $300. We're down to $1,200 for bills, gas, insurance, and that's a decent job. $25 an hour and a solid side gig, and you're barely scraping by. And that's a starter home that we can hopefully get our hand around. So the inflation is an issue as much as our starting point for homes is also an issue.
But you know what? What is it? What is the solution for that? As what can we do, right? I mean, the main things we can do is just minimize our debts and find a way to increase our incomes, right? Get into other streams of income, or just be fun. Prepare yourself financially to be able to weather the storm or get yourself ahead, right? I mean, kind of what you talked about. Living with all your cousins in a house, right? Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it might be letting go of your car and or certain things to move you ahead in life, right?
There's times for growth, and there's times to grow, and there's time to retract. And I think right now, personally speaking, economically speaking, we are retracting once again, leading to this whole thing. So we'll see how things pan out. It's not doom and gloom, everyone. It's still a good time to buy a house if you can afford it. Because the reality is, like Daniel said, if you wait 15 years to buy, that house is going to quadruple. You should buy a home that's within your budget right now. Like I said earlier, other system I was on. Um, it's about entry. If you can afford to get into a house,
Put your equity up.
get in there. No matter what, get in there with as little as possible. That's the whole point is to get your foot in the door. And once you're in the door, then you're in the game, right? And then you start working on the equity and it quadruples and quintuples and all that kind of stuff. The first home I bought was worth $130,000, and I bought it with a VA assumable loan, zero down. And I'm not a veteran. I wish I was. I didn't have the courage, but I bought it with zero down, and I didn't put anything down. I literally walked into my house with $100. I figured out how to do it. And I bought a foreclosure, fixed it all up. The house I bought it for $129,000. It's worth $450,000 today. It wasn't my dream house. I made it decent after years, but that house fueled a lot of my financial decisions. It helped me fund and repay my wife's student loans. It helped me take care of some credit card debt. It helped me get a down payment for some other things in the future and some other investments. So that one non-dream home that I bought fueled a lot of my growth and my opportunity to have to where I am today. So don't think you have to buy that brand new dream starter home and wait 20 years, because waiting is part of the issue. Get your foot in the door, get in however you can, even if it's seller financing, if it's rent to own, whatever it is, get your foot in the door, make it happen. Don't sit back and wait and waste that money on it. Or if you are, move in with your family. Like Daniel said, move in with your family, save that money for rent, and really make it happen, because wasting that money on a one-bedroom apartment by yourself, you might as well go help another family out and pay half the rent there and save it for something else.
Either way, just put a plan together, right? Just go out there, buying lists, and moving through life. And sometimes we tend to get stuck in that, right?
We do.
To start moving without direction, without vision.
We create these weird roadblocks in our head. I don't know why we do this as human beings. We create these roadblocks and assumptions that things have to be a certain way, and nobody said them. Nobody's done them. It's just the way my mom did it, and that's how it sticks. But there's no reason, no rhyme, nothing for it other than it's a habit, and it's a bad habit at that. So it takes us to be strong, powerful people, to speak things into fruition, to have those goals, have those dreams. And ladies and gentlemen, having a dream is great, but writing it down on a piece of paper and putting timelines to it is what makes you take action. So I'm gonna tell you right now, if you guys have a dream, have a goal, write it down, give yourself a timeline. I remember I took a program on Lou Tice back in 2007, and a lot of my friends and I were training for a course, and it showed you how to kind of trick your brain into making things happen. And it basically shows you how to create and make your dreams a reality, and how to write things down. And I'm telling you, I go back to this day, I laugh at the things I used to want. They used to call them affirmations, right? So they call them. And the way you would speak them into existence and how they actually came true. And you would speak as if it happened. And sure enough, lo and behold, 2 years later, it was. So I go back 20 years later, I'm like, wow, I was so naive to think I couldn't do that, and I was thinking so small, and now I should have thought 10 times bigger, and we don't. We don't think 10 times bigger. We think next step. We think B. We need to be thinking Z the whole time, and you're going to find a way to get there.
No, no, dude. I mean, even yourself, like I said, prime example, right? I mean, like I said, if people see like where you live, and obviously, like humbly, right? That is, I mean, you've done well for yourself. I remember coming to 4th of July at your spot, and seeing you kick it with Emmitt Smith, right? Throwing bones, and it's like, man, like you're out here like doing all that you envisioned, all that you set out to do.
That wasn't even my dreams, honestly, dude. Emmitt Smith came across so honestly. My cuñado happens to know Emmitt through an acquaintance of his. They happened to kick it off.
He likes
hey, good friends, we're buddies now, and he happened to come to my installation for the rep. That was really cool. And it's weird when Emmitt Smith pops into your garage and says, "Hey, can I come over?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, come on over." Right? I mean, it happens every now and then, and it's great that's cool, and it's part of my life now. But I wouldn't even fathom that. He told me 5 years ago that Emmitt Smith would be at my house on numerous holidays to hang out with us. I would have told you are insane. That will never happen. And it's a fairly common occurrence.
No, right, you're here rubbing shoulders with CEOs, presidents of all different organizations. It's like,
you know what?
I love to see it.
You're humble. You put the work in. You grind. You become a good person. And good people tend to find good people.
Yeah,
that's the reality of it.
Kind of think about this frequency, right? You always put this frequency out into the universe. So you're gonna connect with that frequency that you're putting out. I did want to mention something. Well, that day that Emmitt Smith was at your house, right?
Yeah.
It's like I had just started my 75 hard, and one of the things is you can't drink alcohol, right? And it's like, dude, I'm here in front of Emmitt Smith. He's out here, drinking his tequila. I'm like, man, I was like this close. So it takes so much willpower for me to not break, my 75 hard, right? But not just a cool story,
that was pretty neat, man. We actually made a roasted pig that day. Kind of went all out, and it's a good time, man. Good time, good people, good friends. We're about out of time here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna wrap it back up. We're gonna wrap this up here soon. Anything you guys need to talk about, we're more than willing to do. Like this is our first thing here, but we're all about real estate, credit, accountability, dreams, man, dreams, and we love what we do, what we're all about. Daniel, he's a good friend. I respect what you've done with your career so far. Got a long way to go. We've all made mistakes. We're all going to make accomplishments. It's part of the growth. So don't ever take any of that to heart. This market is tough for all you guys out there in this market. My realtor, my real estate, my insurance friends, don't give up. You're not defeated. I promise. Don't take it personal. You're not down. You will get back up. The market will adjust. You're going to come back. You're going to make money. But right now, cut your expenses, live beneath your means, find out a way to make things last, because we're not done yet. So hang in there. You're going to get through it. I promise. Adjust yourselves. Know where the wind's coming from. Expect big things and get after it.
Yes, it's time to roll up your sleeves. Get belly to belly with people, and then just make general connections, general relationships. It's time to double the work that you're doing, right? It's like we're not going to get by with the work that we put in these last few years, right? Now it's time to really get back to it, and the ones who stick through it are the ones who are going to be on top once the wave is, once we ride the wave, right?
Yeah, honestly, the last 3 years I haven't been selling. I've been order taking. At 3% rates, there's no need to sell. I'm not selling. I'm producing as much as I can. Now at 8%, now it's a sell. Now it's a analysis. Now let's really compare. Is this the right thing for you? 3%, it's no brainer. Let's just go. At 8%, it may not be the right time for you. And that's okay. We may need to adjust your plan to something else, and that's okay. Let's have those conversations. Reach out to Dan Ramirez with any of your real estate needs. Good dude. Daniel, what's your hashtag? What's your stuff online?
So my Instagram is at Daniel Ramirez TX. And yes, you can find me on Instagram.
Very cool. Guys, check me out. Ask Eloy wherever you want. I'm all over the place. Twitter. I still use Twitter.
It's called X now.
TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. I'm all over the place. Check us out. Ask Eloy podcast, an inaugural edition. Let us know what you thought about it. Anything you want us to talk about next time, comment. We'll be more than happy to address it. Nos vemos, mi gente. Cuídense.